My Foxtech all-in-one video goggles finally showed up today. And here's what it looks like with the box open. Here's the box that it came in. Alright. There's the goggles. It has a user's manual, carrying case, audio video cable, power cable. I'm not sure what that is. I guess that's to power it if you're not using the transmitter for the power. And it even comes with the square Futaba trainer plug. I didn't think it came with that, so I actually ordered another one from eBay, but I guess I don't need it. And we have an antenna for 2.4 and for 5.8 gigahertz. What else is in the box? There's my 100 milliwatt transmitter, video transmitter, and my pan tilt camera if I can get it out of the box. Wow, that's a lot lighter and smaller than I thought. Awesome. And here's the cord that plugs the camera into the transmitter. Here are the components that make up my new FPV system, which is what basically it allowed me to use these goggles here along with this onboard camera to fly the airplane from a first-person view. And I'm using my old Futaba 72 megahertz radio because the head tracker function with these goggles doesn't work with my Spectrum radio. And the head tracker is basically, I'm going to show you how it works in a minute, but when you turn your head back and forth, it actually moves this camera back and forth. So it's really like you're on the airplane looking around. So here's the video goggles, here's the radio I'm going to use, here's the camera, here's my receiver. This wire hooks the goggles to the transmitter. And you can see on my video transmitter, right now I've just used some wire nuts to hook up an EC3 connector so I can just plug it into my LiPo battery, 3S LiPo battery, for testing purposes. But when I actually hook it up in the plane, I'm going to actually hardwire it in. So when I plug in the battery, it'll automatically come on. Just for testing purposes, I'm using this NiCad pack to power my receiver. But when I'm actually flying the airplane, I'm going to use the onboard power that I use for the motor, which would be this battery, or maybe a larger one. And I'll go through the electronic speed control of the airplane through the VEC circuit, which will provide power to the transmitter, so I won't need this battery when I'm flying. You may wonder what this rubber band is here on this switch. This is the trainer switch. So if I was teaching somebody to fly, they would plug their transmitter into this hole here in the back, and then they can control the airplane as long as I'm pulling back that switch. And then if I let go of that switch, they lose control. But we're going to use that function to allow the goggles here to control two of the channels on the radio. So I'm using the rubber band to keep that held so the trainer is always on. That way the goggles will always have control over these two servos here. So the first thing we need to do is hook the trainer cord into the back of the radio. That. And then we hook the other end of it into the goggles. Right here into that port right there. So I'll go ahead and I'll plug that in. So now we have the goggles are hooked into the transmitter. The transmitter also provides power for the goggles. And I had to go into the settings for the radio. It was kind of tricky because I actually had to turn the trainer function to off in order to get the head tracker to work, which it seems like it should be the other way around, but it wasn't. It took me a couple hours to figure that out, but But here we go, we got that. Now we need to provide power to the camera and also hook up the servos on the camera. This is my 5.8 gigahertz 100 milliwatt transmitter. If you zoom in here, you can see that there's some dip switches on here. There's 4 dip switches, and you move those up and down to set the channel. And then on the goggles, there's a selection, you know, to choose the channel between 1 and 8. So you're supposed to go through each one and find the one with the least interference. But I've just left it for the factory from now to see. Basically just want to try them out to see how they work. Now we're actually going to plug the camera output into the video transmitter. So here's the wire that comes out of the camera. It goes into this unit, and then that sends the video signal back to my goggles. So this cord, it goes right into there. So I'm going to go and plug it into there. This camera is on a pan tilt. So there's 2 servos here. One moves it back and forth, one moves it up and down. So I'm going to move my head back and forth. The goggles will transmit a signal to the transmitter, which will transmit to this receiver, and it'll tell this camera to move back and forth. So I want to plug that into channels 5 and 6 here on the receiver. Alright, so now I have the battery here powering the receiver. Everything's plugged into the camera. Camera is plugged in to the video transmitter, which I have powered by the battery. So we're all set. So if you see, if I move the goggles, it moves the camera. Now we're going to go to Cole here. He's going to try it out for us to see if it really works. Alright, Cole, look around.
Wow.
Is the camera moving? Look at me. You turn your head. Don't look that far. It can only go 45 degrees. Up, look down. Look back and forth. Slow. What do you see?
I see belly.
That's not nice. Kind of cool, huh?
Yes, you look fat.
What? I look fat?
Yes.
I don't think that's very nice.
You look like Santa.
Hey, alright, that's enough. Look back and forth. Alright, up, down. Does it work?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Here's my Radian Pro with the stock parts in it. As you can see, it balances right at 70 millimeters from the leading edge. And this is the original battery and have the original receiver. And I'm going to have to add a video transmitter. I have to change the receiver out to a bigger receiver to fit my Futaba 72 megahertz radio. And I'm also going to have to add the camera. And after I add all these things, it still has to be balanced at 70 millimeters from the leading edge. So this is what first thing we're going to need to do is replace this tiny Spectrum AR600 receiver with this great big Futaba 72 megahertz receiver. And that's going to be a lot heavier and take up a lot more room, but it's the only receiver I have that works with my Futaba radio, so we're going to have to make it fit. So that's the first thing we're going to do. I took my Dremel tool and got rid of all the extra foam in there to make room for this big receiver, and it's fit in there. It's pretty snug. So do something with all these wires. Tuck it up in there. I plan to replace the original 1300 milliamp hour battery with a 2200 milliamp hour battery. I don't know if this is going to be too heavy, but I need the extra capacity to run the transmitter, plus it'll act as a counterweight for the video transmitter, this guy, which will sit on the back, so it won't be a total waste of weight, but it is quite a bit heavier. See the 2200 milliamp battery, it fits in there, but it's not that tight. I need to get something to secure it a little better, but I think it'll fit. And the next thing is to position the camera. And after I get the camera added, it'll let me know how far back I need to add the transmitter in order to balance it. So I took my Dremel tool, I cut out a little place for the camera so I can set flat right on there. And I think I'm going to add some hot glue in addition to using the, the 4 screws in the corner, because we don't want this falling off. That would be bad. What I did, I took a EC3 extension. I'm going to plug in between the electronic speed controller and the battery, and I've soldered some wires in the middle, and that's going to go to the video transmitter. Alright, I determined the antenna needs to be about right here in order to balance the airplane, and I've taken my Dremel tool there, just made it flat, and I think I'm going to take some hot glue and glue the bottom of the transmitter onto here, and then I'm going to put some additional wire ties around it to make sure it doesn't fall off. I took my Dremel tool and I basically hollowed out this whole front area, and I'm going to move this thing to the center to hold the battery, and I'm going to put the 2200 milliamp hour battery, and then I'm going to stick the ESC right on top of it, so hopefully it doesn't get too hot. Let's see if it works. All the equipment is installed, the battery, the transmitter, the camera, everything's in there, and it's balanced at 70 millimeters behind the leading edge. So it looks like we're ready to go. Hopefully tomorrow will be a good day to fly.